Welcome to another Business Finance short problem solving lecture. We will now have a look at study problem 13-8 in page 433 from the 8th edition of our textbook. Here's a view of the problem. Let's go ahead and highlight some key facts provided in the problem. So we have a company which have currently 7.5 million shares outstanding, and the CFO, as the assistant of the CFO, you are to determine the yearly dividend per share to be paid to shareholders depending on the following policies. So we have three different parts to the question. So let's have a look at the first part, part A. A stable dollar dividend targeted at 40% of earnings over a 5-year period. So I'll go ahead and solve this problem just on the question. So let's figure during that 5-year period what the total earnings would be. So if you add these 5 numbers, you should get I believe $106 million. So this is over a 5-year period. So therefore, the target dividend we are talking about in part A, the target dividend is actually equal to the following ratio. It would be equal to $106 million, that's our total, multiplied by 40%, because that's the amount available to shareholders, 40% of earnings, and everything divided by 7.5 million shares outstanding. And we need to oops, so for that, hold on. Okay. We need to also divide everything by 5, because as I said earlier, we have 5 terms. So making this calculation, we realize that the target dividend ratio turns out to be $1.13, and that's under the case of a stable dollar dividend target. So a stable target payout. So this would be a stable target payout policy of 40%. Okay, so for part B now, the question would change slightly. I mean, the dividend policy is changing. Now a small and regular dividend of 60% is guaranteed each year. And in addition, in some years when the profits exceed $20 million, we are giving out 50% of the additional of the profits exceeding that $20 million benchmark. So let me open a new page. So as I said, for part B now, we need to first identify the years where our profit will exceed the $20 million. Obviously, the first year is not one of those years. The second year is actually obviously our profit exceeds the $20 million, so that's good. Third year we are below. Fourth and fifth year we are again above the $20 million benchmark. So as a result, we can create the following table. So I will be putting the years on the first column, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the dividend amounts on the next column. And when I say dividend, I mean dividend per share. So it turns out that the dividend per share for year 1 and 3 will only include the base amounts, but that would be different for the year 2, 4, and 5. So in the year 2, we will definitely get our base dividend, so the small regular dividend of 60 cents per share. But in addition, because our profit exceeded the 20 million benchmark, so we should get some more. So we first need to figure by how much we exceeded the 20 million, which is obviously $1 million in this case, and then we will be giving 50% of this exceeding amount, And because we have 7.5 million outstanding shares, we need to also divide this whole thing by 7.5 million. So adding up this number, the 60 cents, with this whole animal, we get that the total dividends paid per share would rise to 67 cents. So I will just write it like this, 0.67. Let me also mention here that these are all dollar figures. Okay, so that would be the amount. Okay, how about the year 4? Just pretty much the same way. We will just have the 60 cents guaranteed, but in addition, we will be paying we will exceed over $20 million by $3 million under the year 4, and we are giving out 50% of this excess. However, we still need to divide the whole thing by 7.5 million. By adding 60 cents with this whole animal here, we get that the dividends under this condition would be 80 cents basically. And finally in year 5, again 60 cents base, and then we are exceeding it by $5 million. Obviously 25 minus 20 million is 5 million, of which we are paying 50 cents, 50% in dividends, and then dividing everything by 7.5 million shares outstanding. So per share, oh, my apologies. Okay, so therefore per share, if you do the necessary algebra, you will see that the total would be equal to 93 cents. So 93 cents. And that would solve the part B, where we had a small regular dividend and some additional extra depending on profitability. And final part, so in part C, we have this constant payout ratio of 40%. So constant payout of 40%, constant payout ratio of 40%. So I just for simplicity's sake, I will just go ahead and use this table here. So we know that 40% of this amount divided by the 7.5 million shares will give us the dividend per share, obviously per share here. So therefore dividend per share under year 1 would be 96 cents. The same number for year 2 would be, again, we are multiplying it by 0.40, then dividing it by 7.5 million. We should get $1.12. For year 3, again, pretty much the same calculations. We get that the dividends would be $1.01. And finally, year 4 and 5, for year 4, that figure will increase up to $1.23. And year 4 would be $1.33. So that would be the case of a constant payout ratio. So depending on which policy the company implements, you will see that from year to year the shareholders will have varying amounts of earnings. For instance, in this case, part C, in the constant payout ratio policy, earnings of the company from year to year would not matter. The shareholders will get a certain dividends allocated to them as a percentage of earnings, obviously. So therefore the percentage will be fixed. But on the other methods, we realized that there are some other differences as well. So that solves our problem, and so I'll see you guys in the next video.